How you doing, Mr. Mosley?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. We're just trying to make it day to day, keeping a sense of normalcy. It's good to see you. I thought about calling you, and then I realized your number was deleted out of my phone.
Oh,
No, I'm kidding. No, I did, and then I didn't stop and do it then, and then it didn't happen. So I'm glad that
well,
we're
it's fine. I wouldn't have been able to receive it anyway. I blocked your number days ago.
I was, well, that's good. I'm glad we're on good terms during the quarantine.
So, what is your school's online learning look like? When did y'all
Uh,
start?
when did we start? So we had a bit of weirdness. So we had the break, right? So we had spring break,
Hmm.
and then the next week we
When
didn't
was y'all
return to
spring
school.
break?
The 9th through the 13th, I think.
Yeah, that was the same as ours.
Yeah, and then so we got a message at the end of spring break and saying that we were not coming back, and then that next week was kind of the weirdness, and it was like, okay, we're not coming back, but we didn't have anything, and everything was still up in the air. And I think the week after is when we started to have a meeting, and they just started to give us updates. And I think the next week is when we actually started.
So you would have started on the. I keep looking back at my calendar. April. No, sorry, March 30th. You started like around March 30th, like the end of March.
Yeah, I guess something like that. And I've lost track of time. I know we've been doing this for like 3 weeks now. 3 weeks.
What year is this?
Where are we at? Who are you? Yeah, something like that. But it's kind of weird. So they came up with a Zoom schedule, so everyone has like a time where you could meet with your class, and it's really like once a week. And at the beginning, when they first said that we were not going to go back until April, like April 4th, I think it was, which I knew was not going to happen. Um, they were saying you can give like one, what did it say? Like something 30 minutes a day and like one grade or something like that a week or one assignment, something like that. But things were not for grade, so everything was just, uh,
Busy work.
yeah, it was all busy work. So, our as a elective class, like we had a meeting in, PVA with the Performing and Visual Arts. Our admin, she renamed it the Positive Vibes Association. So like our job was just to get the morale of the kids up, and just kind of not so much to bombard them with assignments and stuff, but just to kind of love on them a bit. So that's kind of what we did for the first week or 2 weeks or a week and a half, something like that. But so we meet once a week via Zoom, and then we give them small assignments, like small little things to do. I don't overload them. I give them like one thing to do a day, and then they have like one thing to turn in a week.
So
And
you assign a new assignment every single day.
well, I kind of have it like something they work on. No, I have like one major assignment, like one thing to turn in. Everything else is like in preparation for the assignment.
Oh, okay, okay.
So like if I'm giving them, okay, I want you to play this for Friday. Like on Monday, your assignment is to rehearse a portion of that or something like that. And then Tuesday, we also use Smart Music, the online thing. So I'll give them something to do on there. It's just something to like move them forward through the week. Wednesday we have our meetings, which we started playing in our meeting. And then Thursday is more preparation for their video they have to turn in on Friday, and then Friday they turn it in. So
So, but you're not monitoring their preparation. It's like, oh,
no,
it's
no,
Thursday. Like this is what you're supposed to do because it's Thursday.
yeah. So this is like here's the schedule for the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And if they don't do it on that day, it's up to we'll know by Friday.
Hmm.
And it took a while to kind of get everybody on there, but right now we're probably at about 98%. Of,
Really?
yeah, of kids like showing up to their Zooms, and then um,
Are y'all a Google school? Are y'all using Google Classroom?
no, we're using Zoom.
Well, so how
So
are you
you're
sending
you're
out
a
these
Zoom
assignments?
district.
We're a Zoom district. I mean, I mean, we're using Canvas. Canvas.
Oh yeah, Canvas is good. I hear that it's good. I hear it's very intuitive. It's very easy to use. It doesn't take very long to set up.
Hmm.
No, I
It's
think
it's
you can build a
very
class in about 81 hours.
yeah, yeah.
Because that's what it took me.
Yeah, so I mean, it was a learning curve. So like the first couple of weeks, like I I had like a day where the kids like go on and familiarize yourself with smart music, and then like today prepare yourself for or like add a Flipgrid account, stuff like that. So it wasn't like a big assignment every day. It's like something small. I'm not overloading them. The right now their concern is not electives anyway. So
All
and
right.
we're able to start adding grades now.
Okay,
Well,
so
now, okay, okay. Well, Pratt, do you have something to say? Because I have a question or something to say
well,
about
I
that.
have a
But do you have
question too.
something?
But if you have something about that, go on ahead.
Okay. Well, what I was gonna say is that so y'all are just now able to put grades in.
Yeah, we're just now able to add grades in the 6 weeks, and it's modified grades. It's like a letter grade, like
Okay.
S is if they like attempted it. So yeah, S is like 100, but it's not
Uh,
showing mastery of the skill,
It just
right?
shows that they got on there and tried.
And then N is like a 69.
is that like needs improvement?
Yeah, but it's a 69.
Hmm.
And if they get a 60, if they get that, they're able to redo things and blah 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 blah.
So N is
And
like
then
the new F.
I they don't attempt it.
Oh.
Wow, that's
So if
okay.
if the standards are not lower, we're definitely gonna keep them low. So I mean, I have band kids, so they do what they're supposed to do anyway. But I guess the only thing is that for the kids that are not showing up, they get eyes.
That's that's so interesting because because so
What's the deal with it?
y'all never gave a number grades, right?
What do you mean?
Y'all like you weren't giving like, oh, they made an 89 on this on this playing thing. It's either
When we moved to online,
yeah.
well, at the beginning, like they were turning in assignments, and what I told them, I said, right now things are not for grades, and I said, but I know the type of students you are. You don't only do things for grades.
Right.
I kind of use that against them. I said, but what we will do is whenever we will start putting grades in, we'll use these as your first couple of assignments. So get them in, and then that'll help move us
Mhm.
forward too. So
Be-
I kind of use that with them, you know.
because in in our district, we were we started out giving number grades, or at least I think the high school did, and then we turned and moved to just completion. Are y'all taking roll in any form or fashion?
Okay, in the Zoom, so like we take attendance and we're kind of keeping track of it, and then if you haven't had contact with a student, then we like send their names to the admin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So y'all are taking
Everything's very
roll.
loose still, you know.
So y'all taking roll like one day a week, and that's kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
That's well, I mean,
So what does it look like for your district?
we take roll every single day
On what?
on Google Classroom, and it's based on any type of interaction that we had with the kid. So if they sent us an email, if they posted something in Google Classroom, if they turned in the assignment, if they because I can look and see if they even attempted the assignment. If they attempted the assignment, if they interacted, like if there's any type of interaction whatsoever, then I can mark them here. And then
Oh,
there's also a Google form that kids need to fill out, although it's not mandatory for them to fill out because we can take roll another way. But we don't publicize it obviously because we want them to fill out the Google form to show us that they're there.
yeah.
Um, so we're trying
We
to
have
take
a lot
roll.
of
We're huh?
we've had like in my department meeting this morning, the other teachers, I didn't really have the same complaint, but they were saying, well, the students were saying, well, we're not taking grades right now, so we're not going to do the assignments. We're not going to do the assignments, and and I guess it's kind of those teachers too, like some of my kids were saying, oh well, we're to come to your Zoom because we want to see you, and the other ones are kind of just pointless. Like they were saying that. So that's kind of where we are. And I get the admin, they're just focusing on more on the core classes, I guess. And they have so much to
Yeah.
do with right now. We're just kind of just making it through. And I was telling my staff earlier we're not going to stress out about certain things. We're going to make sure that we're giving them what they need, staying connected, and keep planning to move forward. So.
Okay. Well, I want to ask you this because you.
Oh, hey.
Oh, hey. You said something that I think is worth us exploring a little bit, and like you said, you're having about 98% engagement.
Which is insane.
No, I said 98. No, listen. I said 98%. attendance.
Well, yeah, that's the same thing. You
I'm
have
showing up.
98% of
Now,
your kids that
No,
actually
no,
did
that's
something.
not the same thing.
it's different because what I'm saying when that is like out of the group of kids that I have, those that are showing up is about 90%. Now, when they're on the Zoom calls, it's a bit. I mean, I have good kids anyway. They're still as engaged as you can be through it with a computer, But my engagement I always went 100%, but the engagement is still probably higher than anybody else.
Okay,
But
but
anyway,
what I'm saying is, out of your roster, your attendance, like how many kids you have in the band program, what percentage of them are actually engaging and dialing in to some form of instruction that you're providing?
well, all of like me specifically, or like the whole
Like,
program,
no,
because I take some, and I then the assistant he has some too.
Well, let's say you, because that's what you're responsible for.
You want a number or a
A
percentage?
percentage is fine.
90%.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So out of the kids that you are responsible for instructing, 98% of those kids are involved in some way. I'm not saying they're perfect. I'm not saying that they complete every assignment.
Yeah.
Okay, my point is that most teachers right now are looking at around a 40 to 60%
I know.
engagement.
Yeah, I know.
So that is
And that's
worth
high.
Yeah, and so that's worth us asking, how are you doing that? Because I think there's a lot of teachers who are hearing that 98% right now and going, what on earth are you doing then? So, I mean, I have some probing questions for you, but if you want to just go ahead and say it, then maybe I don't have to.
Sure. Well, when they get on, I send them money.
You set up a PayPal account for everyone?
Well, I think it first has to do with like the relationship I have with the kids. Like, we have really great relationships. So like the first thing, it was just to see them. Like, I just wanted to see them, and whenever we got on our calls, it like I didn't try to act like we were in a classroom necessarily. Like, I guess I let my guard down a bit for them, and I just was checking on them. It was all about the welfare of their being, and we did that most of all, and I didn't try to bombard them with information, I guess, and just very real with them. And it's not a long, like, our classes are not a long time, and I still try to keep the same type of instruction, and I talk to them about, like, before we left, like, I talked to them about learning and how to receive information. And so, like, now, since this is a different medium, I guess, I still talk to them about making that connection to what we've talked about before. Like, I know we're not in the classroom, but learning still has to happen, and it comes from you, and you're responsible for it. So for this little bit of time, like, transform, like, take the information and receive it, so we can, like, add this to what we can already do, and we're not losing time. I kind of make it more real world, and I just try to keep it as light as possible, I think. Like, if they're being silly, I allow them to do that and joke around with them. And whenever they get on the call, I say every single name. So, like, as soon as they get on, I'm like, hey, Chris, hey, Tyler, like, I go around and I make sure and I call their name so they know, like, hey, I see you. And another thing that I try to do, because, on our Zoom calls, you can not have, like, a video.
Yeah.
You can just show your blank screen. So I said, hey, how's it going? I said, if you have the capability, which I know most of you do, to show your face, please do that. I said, because what we want is as close as we can to like a face-to-face experience. I said, and I want to see you. I said, because I want to see your face, because I miss your face, and I miss, like, the connection that we had. And so then they start popping up, because what they could be doing anything just sitting there.
Well, I think that's so funny, because we actually ran into that situation this week. Like, from an administrative side, we had a meeting, and we were meeting with an outside third-party vendor, and so it's like me and like three other administrators, and then like these like sales reps, right? And so we all get on there, and to me, in my mind, standard protocol is like, I'm not going to show my face unless I'm speaking, or like, especially if no one else is showing their face, like, it's like you got to kind of feel the waters You know, because I've been on some Zoom calls where everybody has their face, and you're like, hey,
Yeah.
and then I come on some and nobody has their face. It's just like we're
That's
all
the
just
strangest thing. That I don't feel like that at all when I'm in a call.
well.
I mean, I don't know.
I'm telling you, that's the way it is sometimes.
And the smaller it is, if you don't show your face, it's kind of weird.
Well, I'm
Like,
just
I
telling
think,
you.
like our region meeting, we had like tons of people in there. Like,
Right.
you don't I mean, but like a smaller
Right.
one, it's like now if I'm not showing my face, it's like,
Right. Right.
you know,
Right.
so
and
awkward.
I've even had some people say like, well, look, you know, you don't want to see this right now or whatever. But so I get it. But so I was beginning to think maybe it was like that's the new, you know, protocol for Zoom meetings is like don't show your face until you've seen someone else's or something.
Because they're still in bed.
Right. Exactly.
Well, and for the kids, I'm like,
Right.
well, we're playing our instruments, so I'm like, no, I want to see you. I want to be able to da 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 and
Right.
whatever.
Okay, so I want to hit back on this though. So you've kind of talked about
Can I
how,
answer your question?
well, partially.
Like how I'm doing?
So I have a follow up. You're doing pretty good though.
Okay.
Okay, so here's my follow up is you kind of talked about how you started it out and established it, right? And so you kind of got the ball rolling by creating that culture online that, hey, you know, we're going to engage with each other, we're going to talk, we're going to look at each other, we're going to see each other, we're going to make this what it needs to be. And I think that as teachers look forward, you know, there's a good possibility that this is what school is going to look like in August and September and October, possibly. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I think that's good advice for teachers as they're considering the reality that we may be starting school like this next year. So what are some tips or some suggestions to help build an online classroom culture, right? And so basically I kind of gathered that you're saying it's the same thing you do in a physical classroom mm-hmm. culture, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it is. And I think you have to not act like you're, I mean, like it's obvious, we have a computer in between us and space and you're in your home, so like acknowledge that mm-hmm. and also put the learning on them. Just like when you're face to face, like what I instilled in the kids is like, I can give you information all day, but if you don't receive it at a high level, then we're we have a block here. So mm-hmm. now I like tell the kids, well, you have another obstacle in between us is that we have a computer and you have distractions and your family and you're in a room and whatever. And so you're still going to have to do that. And because and that's something that you can take whenever this is over, it's still to be able to have that. So I think if for the teachers that are, thinking about how to make this better, because I think right now everyone's just trying to get through, mm-hmm. But if you focus on the kids and kind of put the responsibility on them, like to receive the information and what they can do to get it better and still hold them accountable and ask questions and call their names and talk to them and, make them feel as much as connected as possible, I think you'll have a pretty good result,
Okay, so then what about this? Because I think we can all look forward to, say, August and say, okay, I'm gonna put that on my list and I'm gonna make that a priority, building that culture. What do you say to a teacher right now who we only have a month left? And maybe that's not a month ago how they started. And so right now they have very low engagement. Maybe kids aren't that interested if they're coming at all. Maybe it's kind of fallen into that monotonous routine. Right. So what could a teacher do? It's kind of like, it's almost like what happens in November whenever you realize suddenly your classroom procedures and your classroom management wasn't that good. How do you fix that now that we only have a month left to go, but you still want to be successful and you still want to see the kids progress?
Well, I think as far as like, if you had a low level of engagement before we switch to online, it's going to be even lower. Mm-hmm. So I would say for a teacher, if you're having low engagement, well, first, if you could reach out to them, and I think right now, since the kids are going to have to deal with so much, if you're not helping them or being something positive or like refreshing, I guess, in their day, or refreshing in their day, in this monotonous, like, because all the teachers have to do this type of, class, stuff like that. If you're not entertaining and like making them look forward to it, then they're not, because I don't have to, or I guess you can dial in, but I don't have to pay attention now. I
Mm-hmm.
guess,
Mm-hmm.
because they're lowering the standards so much for everybody. So, I would say as much as possible, make it refreshing and make it more about them and their well being and give them the information that they can and not try to overdo it.
Mm-hmm.
Just make it as positive as possible as you're ending the year. And I guess like keep note of what's not going well. What's not going well and record classes if you
Mm-hmm.
can, record classes and go back and whenever you're not under the pressure to have to think on the spot because you're the controlling force in this room, go back and like say, okay, hey, Billy here, they're not they're not following anything I'm saying. Or like, hey, I'm talking too fast on this thing. Or,
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, like you realize you're talking like this, like, oh, and so like the kids respond to everything,
Right.
So, and I taught online before this, and so I had to, even change how I did things. So, kind of self reflect and one, just make it through it to May and be as positive as possible, and then record your classes and look and see what's going on whenever you're not having to teach.
Yeah, I like that.
Make all
So,
of this.
so do you think that it's okay to encourage teachers that like tomorrow or maybe like on Monday to come in and sort of do a reset and for them to come in and say like, "Hey, I know we've been doing this so far, but let's take a step back and let's look at this in a real way." Is that okay for teachers to be that honest or do
Yeah,
they need to try to
I think
like
so too, and I think. Oh, go ahead.
no, or do they need to kind of like sneak it in and weave it in to where it's kind of like, pay no attention to this that we weren't involved in and let's do it this way?
Here's what I was saying too. I think some teachers also um, might have issues if you don't like address the elephant in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And the elephant in the room is that our last real class meeting, we didn't know they were going to come to this now. So like
Mm-hmm.
you have to address real world situations. Like, hey, this is online and this is different, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have these distractions, right? Like I'm on the other side of the computer, but we still have things to do, and don't like try not to mention things. Like be. I feel like in my experience, the kids they're responsive to when I tell it like it is, and so quote unquote, so like address the elephant in the room, um, and then use that and then move forward, and I think that helps. So I would say get on there and be like, hey, this is different. I'm new to this. I didn't expect it. I'm trying to work out how I'm, giving you instruction because this and that. It's weird, and I think the more we do it, the more we'll get through it. And be vulnerable a bit with your kids because they probably feel the same way. That's why kids don't show their faces sometimes in our Zoom calls. So they're
Mm-hmm.
just, and so I tell them that, and then we move forward. Now I have all my kids showing their faces and they're interacting and stuff like that too. So,
Gotcha.
so it's not too late. Monday, address the elephant in the room, and then keep going.
So at this point, then, do any of you have any suggestions? Because I have a thought that just popped in my head. But does anybody have a suggestion of like how do we keep it fresh, right? Because we've been going in a month of this, and teachers and students both kind of have grace for each other. And they go like, okay, I get it. Nobody knows what they're doing. My teacher has no clue what they're doing. They don't even know what Zoom is,
Right.
And then all that kind of wears off, and it's like, kids are kind of like, okay, I'm getting bored. We do the same thing every time because you show up and you tell me about A, B, C, and then I have to go do my assignment. So, and teachers get bored with that too, and then that's when we see the engagement drop. So I guess the question is, do we have some fresh ideas? Like, how can we kind of spice it up a little here in this next month to keep that engagement high? Because kind of what we're talking about tonight is engagement and how to get. I mean, Mosley is obviously like a master teacher. He's got 98% engagement. So like we're trying to get ourselves to that.
Finally realized that.
Right. So I mean, if I had 98% of the teachers doing professional learning, that would be
I only
amazing.
have 2 kids, so both of them, one kid.
That's all right.
Well,
like 50%, but no, I'm just kidding.
I would say that, I mean, yeah, you need to address the elephant in the room, but at the same time, like there's something that's lost when you're on the video call. And I think that if you just come back on Monday and you just do something different, and as long as it's a huge drastic difference from
Mm-hmm.
whatever else you've done, then there won't be much that you'll need to discuss or address. You'll just be able to just do it, and then like make sure you maintain it. But and
What's
I'm
lost, Tyler?
huh
What's lost in the video call?
what's lost in the video call is the engagement and the fact that I can't touch you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know. So, like, I guess it's something to think about. Like, why is it different? I guess, like, well, if I don't pay attention, like, what are you going to do?
Mm-hmm.
So I
So
think that's something to think about too. So it's changing the motivation of the kids. Like, I'm doing this now because of what? Blah blah blah.
yeah.
That's another elephant in the room.
And I think the way we get the engagement is through like making pre-recorded videos or getting the video recording software or live recording software that allows things to happen on your screen as you teach. Because I know that it's out there. Like, so if you make like, and I'm not talking like a long 30-minute lecture video, like that's going to lose the kids. But if you make like a 2-minute short video that addresses whatever topic that you're trying to accomplish either that week or that day, and there's animations that are in there, there's references to the kids that, so it's not just a video, it's a personalized video to your class, to your kids, to maybe even that one kid or whatever. You can sneak little inside jokes in there and whatever, and now it becomes entertaining for the kid to come in there. And or you can have like little animations pop up on your videos. I don't have those yet, but I know that they exist. So that way when you're giving a lecture, if you talk or say something, like you can have like a little cartoon character come up that's like a little cartoon version of you, that's like maybe writing on a whiteboard or something, and maybe it has no other value other than the fact that it's just silly, and then it gives the kids a reason to come and log on and get on there, and that's the substitute for not being in the classroom in person, being able to tap them on the shoulder or whatever.
Yeah, I think, and that fills the void of what's missing because now, and some kids' motivation is that I guess so. Hey, so if I'm not paying attention,
Wow.
wow.
I need you to silence your phone while you're in
I just
class.
realized that happened. Like, I don't know why. Where'd it go? Hold on.
See, I don't have a Mac, so I don't have that problem.
Wow. I apologize about that. Um, anyway, hold on. Let me make sure my mom's okay.
Check on your mama now. So I see what you're saying, Tyler, and one of the things that I've thought about.
Okay now.
I
Okay.
think I think
Pause.
what you're saying is good. It's kind of like just dive in and get going, because I agree. It kind of goes back to classroom management in a way. The thing you don't want to do is go in and just spill your entire strategy to the kids.
Yeah, and
You
tell
don't
them
want to go
our
in and be
entire
like,
plan.
hey, things haven't been going well. I know y'all really don't like watching this.
I don't know what I'm doing.
This channel.
I'm
I don't
nervous
like
about
it.
the thing.
Right. So we're gonna come in and we're gonna do things differently. We're gonna have fun. I'm gonna make jokes.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's not the way to go. So I see what you're saying,
That's
Tyler.
true.
Like don't
Well,
don't
I
tell
think
your
that
plan.
there is like a gray line there, because you
Right.
do want to tell the kids how it is, because kids
Right.
really, not just kids, people in general appreciate that when you're just real and you're very upfront and you're like, okay, well, this is what's going on, but at the same time, you
Right.
don't want to reveal your plan. So there's a line there where you're upfront with everyone and you tell them what's going on, but you don't tell them your reaction plan or your pro action plan, like
Right.
your I kind of stumbled on that word a little bit.
Oh, we did it.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, it's about, you want to be honest, but you don't want to necessarily do a spoiler.
and
Yeah.
honestly, the main reason, because like, look, and I can tell you right now, I know what Mosley's like secret is. I know why he has 98% of people logging on.
Yeah,
It's
because
because
I'm rich.
he's a master of culture.
Right.
He has built a culture with his kids, and his kids rather come in to his Zoom Like I guarantee you, his band kids are like, well, screw physics. I don't really care about that, and they're coming into his class and like they maybe there's kids who aren't even in his band class. Maybe they're in another band class or another music class who are still trying to chime in on his Zoom
Well,
because they just want to be with him.
well, and that's the thing to remember is whatever you're seeing right now in the pressure of virtual learning, online learning, it is the result of what you've done all year long.
I think so too.
That's really what it is.
And whenever I asked Tyler that earlier, I said, so like, what is the void? As far as like the motivation, I think if your kids were motivated by, like, if you train them and or made them aware of how to be more intrinsically motivated about things, um, this is not that hard for them,
Right.
because you just change the environment just a bit. But if you talk about those things ahead of time and you had that relationship, this is not that hard for them. If you had a relationship where it's only if I do this, then what? If I don't do this, then what? Then
Yes.
this is really, really hard. So if you're one of those teachers and you're seeing low engagement, it's because you probably had the if I don't do this, then what? Because and those students were only doing things not to get in trouble, and now
Mm-hmm.
all of the standards are dropped and everything like that. So this might be a good thing to kind of think about next year and really to show you how to kind of put the responsibility on the kids and to figure out their motivations and and get their ownership levels picked up. Um, so here's what Tyler said too. I think now, if you're not like this before, you're gonna have to like think more on the entertaining because this is you have to entertain them almost.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not that type of person, guess what? You're on TV now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're on TV and you're come on once a week, same time, same station. And
Yeah.
our kids are used to looking at screens and they're used to being entertained with when they look at screens or they're scrolling.
Right.
So you become a new screen for them. And if you're not as entertaining as what they're normally used to looking at the screen, then they tune you out. So,
Yeah. Because
um,
I mean,
you
let's
know,
face it, the kids are not avoiding your class because they're tired of looking at a screen.
right. Yeah,
They're
yeah.
just
That's
tired of
what it
looking
is.
at you. That's the
Yeah, that's what it
difference.
is.
Right.
And you're not entertaining as what they're normally used to. So at the end of the day, when I actually finish teaching that, I am exhausted even more, I think, because I'm having to do way more because one, I'm sitting. And then two, the 50 students that I'm used to like being within arm's reach, they're not there, So,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, there you go.
Well, and think about like in a normal class, think about all the like the little side jokes that you would make that would build the culture in your classroom, the little side conversations that you might have with the student that builds those individual relationships, like all those little things that you might do to like to kind of leak out your own personality onto the kids so that way it kind of gives them a hook and be like, ooh, who is this person? Like, what? They have a YouTube channel? Like, what's going on there? Like, I want to know more about like Mr. Mosley or Mr. Pratt or Mr. Lamont. Like what are they doing? You know, all those little things are no longer happening organically. They
Yeah.
are now happening manufacturedly through a recorded video. So now, if you think about every single class that you've individualized and personalized with, now needs each one its own individualized video with its own individualized students and structure and inside jokes and culture and all of those things. So in some ways this is even more of a daunting task because like that's easy to come up with on the fly because like it's almost kind of like improv, like kid does this, you discipline or whatever, or maybe a kid does this and you make a joke or whatever. Now you're manufacturing kind of like all of it. Like you're now the YouTuber, which now I think it's a minute and 12 seconds. That is the time it takes for a person to realize if they're going to watch the full video on YouTube or click off.
Hmm.
So if you have a video, if you have not grabbed their attention within that first minute of whatever video you're trying to do, even if it's a live lecture on Zoom or Google Classroom or whatever, then you're pretty sunk. And then I also recommend making sure that whatever video you do, pre-recorded video, mind you, I would recommend it not being any more than like 3 to 5 minutes, and 5 minutes is pushing it.
So basically, you're saying right now that it's possible that absolutely no one's listening to this video.
100%. Go check out my other podcast called Zero Listeners. It's real hot.
Right.
No one's listening.
Right. So, okay. Well, I'm just gonna throw this last idea out because I know that we're, it's coming up on time. But
oh yeah,
I know. Yeah. So,
it's midnight over here. Where are y'all at? Okay.
Here's the thought: has anybody done this yet? And if not, do you think it's a good idea? And would you be interested in trying this and letting us know, giving us a report? Has anyone yet asked a student or given a student an opportunity to teach an online lesson to the class instead of you always giving the content?
No,
like
but I
letting
have
them put something
incorporated
together.
choice.
No, I think we're just trying to float ourselves.
Right,
I don't think anyone else had a chance to think about that.
Well, and that's okay. That's why I'm throwing it out there, because that's what I'm saying. Like, teachers are looking in this next month, how do I increase engagement instead of decrease engagement? I mean, like, I would think as a student, I mean, I know as an adult, whenever I find out that the principal or the normal person who's talking isn't talking, but instead someone else is going to be talking, I'm like, oh, maybe this will be good. So, it might turn out that your band president or your drum major, hey, maybe they have something good.
Or they might be terrible and the whole thing just goes down.
They might be, but that's okay, because it's the same thing as if you let them do it in class. I mean, what difference does it make, And I think that it also puts those kids in your shoes so that they start to realize what that feels like to have to do this to the crowd.
Well, also what I do is I try to every time to have them for some moment say something or perform something. So like whenever we get on, this kind of helps morale. Like when we get on, I say, okay, everyone come up with something totally random. It could be something that you made up, something that, for marching band season, like play something fun. And it's like, raise your hand and then play. Okay, so it's like, Chris, go. And you play your little, and then, okay, you have that moment. Good, whatever. And then we kind of go around the room. Tyler, what do you have? Play something for us. So they kind of have, and they feel the pressure because, like they kind of laugh and giggle and stuff like that. So they're having those moments where it's kind of like it's being called out in class, but, I try to do that. As far as like having a kid to do it, I guess right now I'm not control hungry, but like we're just getting settled on how things are, and
you like to control it. I understand.
I like to control everything, so
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that would be something. I mean, I would have to have the kids get maybe next year. Well, if we're still doing this next year, I would maybe try that, something like that.
I just had this thought, and I know we got to go because we're getting on time or whatever, but maybe it's something we can talk about next time or tomorrow or whatever, because, I mean, what else are we doing other than just grading online stuff? Like, what do you think the ramifications of this quarantine are going to be for kids with anxiety? Like, I mean, kids already have, like, huge anxiety already because they're already glued to their phones and they don't have, like, personal connections and like, they have a hard time with social interaction already. And now what we just did, now what's just happened is like the little social interaction that they did have is now completely gone. So maybe those few group of kids, and actually it's not really a few group of kids, like a lot of those kids who would just sit in the cafeteria and be on their phone, at least they're physically next to somebody. Now they're on their bed with their screen turned off, just the audio on, and listening to a class.
Well, I think what Mosley's saying is kind of interesting because, I mean, like, I know for me personally, I would way rather communicate, and I have less anxiety communicating face-to-face than I do virtually. So it's really hard for me to hear my voice through a microphone, to see my face on a screen, and connect
it's hard
that
to see
way.
Your face too, I agree.
Right. So I mean, I think there's kind of just, there's strengths and weaknesses. There's going to be some things that are easy for others, and I mean, I think it can all be a positive thing. It can all be healthy, because even though that kid may not be connecting, when you take a situation like what Mosley just said, where it's like, hey, share this with us or tell us what you think about this, then that may be them having to step out, and even though it is virtually, they're still developing that skill of having to present themselves with confidence and share their thought.
Yeah. But I also think that that's another difference between our generation and the Zoomers, is that, like, we are uncomfortable in front of the camera, but we're more comfortable in front of people because why? That's what we've mainly done.
Yeah, that's a good
Where
point.
they're more comfortable in front of the screen and not as comfortable in front of the people. Why? Because that's what they're used to. They're used to their snapograms and everything else.
Right.
Snapograms. What are you, 80 years old?
Right.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that is a really good point, Lawan, that issue is probably going to have to be brought up, like, for those kids when they get back. It's going to be an adjustment. And it's not going to be just we're back to school and ring the bells and go. It's not. So
Yeah, I think that's the worst thing that we could do is just pretend that it. And me and
Oh,
Pratt
no,
talked
we're
about
good,
it
yeah.
yesterday.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's good stuff. So I don't know, Mosley, why don't you leave us with a good thought, a good word for the day? Launch the teachers out and give
Yeah.
them,
What's your favorite color?
give them motivation and inspiration for the days ahead.
Is it purple?
Inspiration. What? My favorite color is blue.
Oh.
My inspiration for today, I would say, that this is just another challenge that you have to overcome, and our character is usually built through the things that we don't control, and these type of things. So just use this as another opportunity to grow, and another opportunity for the kids to experience things that you can't control. And I think I always try to put a little, like, sprinkle a little something, like little wisdom for the kids, like of the things that we're going through, so they can have some hope. So I would say, take this an opportunity in this situation as a chance of growth, like a chance to recharge, and just to it's a new opportunity, I think.
Yeah. All right.
There
All
you
right.
go.
So, I mean, the good news is there's still time for people to move kids forward, to build engagement. And I
Still
think
moving forward.
as educators, we've got to start thinking and looking ahead to the near future of what this looks like come August and September and start making those plans. So, all right. We'll see you tomorrow.